Hey everybody, welcome to G4G here on YouTube. I am your host, Napalm Dawn, and today's episode is Notice Me Senpai, I Got Blocked by Zoe Quinn. So this is really fucking hysterical. I'm not even offended or affected by this in the least, other than the fact that it is hilarious and it creates a major talking point over here. Um, and that is, it wasn't even Zoe Quinn that I was responding to that got me blocked by her. This is really funny about it. So, as you may or may not know, Zoe Quinn has been in the gaming news lately when she levied an abuse claim against a indie software developer, the guy who was behind A Night in the Woods. And it's apparently quite the good game. I don't know the game. Never heard of it, although the art style looked familiar. I have seen the art of it. So I've been catching some videos on it, and because I am not simply a baby bird who opens my mouth at whatever mom pukes in my face. And by mom, I mean popular media, whether it be what is called MSM or fake news or gaming news or YouTube or neckbeards or whoever it is that you think is providing the news. I go out and do a lot of the research myself. And as you've seen on some of my videos, I tend to present equal sides. And some people have commented to me, even when we disagree, that, hey, at least you went out and did the looking. That's more than a lot of people do nowadays. So I went to her Twitter to read this expose that she did about essentially kind of being this kept woman for a little while with a guy up in Canada. And it read something like she couldn't have friends, and she was supposed to fly out, and if it didn't work, he was going to give her the money to go back, and then he didn't. And, this sort of like vague imprisonment motif. The reason why I looked at it is because I have known women in my life who have experienced these things. I've heard stories from adult women older than me discuss bad husbands where it's happened. I've had girls my own age tell me the stories of it, and I believe them when they told me. And a lot of times everybody kind of knee jerks and says, well, why didn't you get out? Like, why didn't you do the things that would get you out of that situation? A lot of times it's because they don't know better at that point in time. They think it's just life. It's acceptance, because you're like, well, you know, this is what happens. I had a girl that I dated briefly back in the early 2000s tell me that she was engaged and that the guy that she was engaged to hit her one time. And then she ended it right then and there. And the reason why the guy hit her, at least the one time, and that's all that it was, is because he had an older brother who was married and saw the older brother being abusive to the wife. And he kind of thought, well, that's what you do. And you might be thinking, God, Napalm, where are these people living that they think that's a reality? Don't they watch TV? Don't they know that's not what a relationship does? Real life often trumps what you see on TV and media and everything like that. So if you're watching a family member be not a good person to their significant other, it sort of sets the trend. You see that a lot when people say that they grew up racist because their parents were racist. And it's not until they really get out from that umbrella and begin to get contrary viewpoints that they realize, holy shit, like, wow, that's not good. I led a life as a kid of, ooh, this is bad. So, to her credit, I have known people that have been in those situations, and to the people who go, why didn't you call the cops? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you beg for somebody to save you? She might not have necessarily known that it was particularly bad until being removed and been like, Christ, like, wow, that's awful, Sort of like you live through a Category 1 hurricane and you think, oh my god, that was horrible. And then a Category 5 one comes in and that one is like, okay, that was like a thunderstorm. So I wanted to read what was going on her Twitter. And what got me, and there was people saying they believed her and they stand with her, and there's people that are like, huh, known grifter Zoe Quinn. And let's face facts here. She's a known grifter. Her and Anita have grifted the gaming world incessantly and incredibly for years now. I mean, the project that she was working on, that Chuck Tingle game over here, it's out of money. She's producing nothing. She's telling the backers nothing. The last update on the game was only a backer story, and that was she's out of money. Meanwhile, she was traipsing across Japan, staying in expensive places that people did their research and like, I know this picture, I know what this is, I know what she's doing. That is extremely expensive. It's like staying at the fucking Hilton penthouse in New York City. How is this game out of money, like, when you were doing this? And I think even somewhere when she was in Japan, she was like, I don't have money to get out of Japan. Like, well, but, oh my god. So, Zoe has a rich history of famous parts and infamous parts. And she's obviously at the core crux of the whole Gamergate thing that spilled out years ago. Mostly due to Nathan Grayson reviewing her game Depression Quest, and it was revealed that Nathan Grayson and Zoe had a relationship. And it was further revealed that the ex-boyfriend said this was a relationship that was happening when she was associated to me. So there are a lot of things in Zoe's history that should give you pause to overthink anything that she puts out. And I know her history, so that's why I came to her Twitter. I said I want to go right to the source and I want to consume it. So I saw a post by a guy that said, this PAX West guy, Real McCrane, Zoe, I know you probably won't see this, but you are one of the most important people in the games industry. Your bravery is 1,000 times stronger than I could ever be. I hope you understand that you constantly give me many of the strengths, and I wish hope, I don't know what wish hope, if there was a slash there, I wish/hope that you know, blah, blah, blah. I replied with, I haven't laughed this hard in a while, 10 out of 10 would laugh again. Not at Zoe's situation. Mind you, I am not passing judgment on her situation. I am only asking that people dig really deep into whether they believe her or not. And they should also dig deep into whether they should reflex not believe her. More on that in a little bit. I'm only talking about this block. So earlier in the day, a friend of mine was like, hey, Zoe Quinn is at it again, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yep. And I went to go here to grab my tweet and show him, and I found out that I was blocked. And I'm like, well, this is pretty fucking ridiculous. The guy who I replied to hasn't blocked me, but she has. And I'm like, how fragile is your fucking eggshell ego that this is a bannable offense to you? Because this isn't about her situation and about her allegation. I'm laughing at the fact that this dude thinks she's one of the most important people in games industry. That may be true, but out of infamy, not out of any positive points. Zoe Quinn's impact on the gaming industry literally means jack shit. It fits in the thimble that would fit on a common housefly. The only impact that she had was being at the core, the bottom of the maelstrom that was Gamergate. Whether it was the negative side of Gamergate that was about doxing and chauvinistic and toxic masculinity parts of that, or the more positive side of what really should have been the core tenet of Gamergate, and that is, hey, gaming journalism is the fucking Mad Max Thunderdome. We need reality checks in here. We need checks and balances. We need strength and verifiability and veracity of data the way that we would hope other journalism is. Now, unfortunately, in modern America, it's very hard to say that there is any really completely 100% upstanding journalism anymore, because everything that is going on with like Trump and fake news, and then there's the bad side of left news or mainstream media or liberal news, however you want to call it, that shows a kid crying in a cage at the border and then it zooms out and it's actually a protest. There are bad things on either side of it politically in the United States. I really would hope that there are still bastions of flat, neutral news and journalism out there that isn't bent to the left or to the right or to gamers or anti-gamers or anything like that. I don't know that it exists, and that's the road that I tend to walk. While I consider myself left-leaning, I don't really consider myself a super SJW, but I don't consider myself a radical right neckbeard. I pick and choose per situation. I kind of drive straight over the speed bump down the middle, and I go, there's a little out my left window that's good. There's a little out my right window that's good. Oh, that thing over there is absolutely terrible. I mean, just because I lean that way doesn't mean that that's good. That's fucking awful. Or I may hate these people in general, but that thing over there is pretty good. That's how I do it. So I'm not immediately like she has no impact. She literally has no impact. Anita Sarkeesian, her grifter buddy, does have an impact. And yes, now it's been more negative because she's not been doing anything and she's grifted people out of money too, and she's laid off people from her foundations, and she's doing what she can to get money, like yelling at EA and things like that. And you know, there's a whole slew of these people whose 15 minutes are up. And like Zoe Berger's one of them, Zoe Quinn is one of them, Anita's one of them, and it is really sad to watch them hold on to that one spider silk strand and sway in the breeze that'll snap at any moment, and them trying really, really hard to stay relevant, and they're not. And FemFreak grifted people. That it's just really a fact when you look at the stuff. And this is coming from somebody who in the first season watched it and actually really enjoyed it because it was a very different perspective. And I grew up in a time in which gaming was, and comics to a certain degree, but I wasn't a comic person, but they do go hand in hand, where, you know, gaming was very male oriented and only the D&D type nerd males play games. And now you have women in the gaming spheres just as much as men. And I dated an Unreal Tournament player who moved in. I visited a WoW girlfriend of mine twice, and we were dating for a while, and I'm now currently living with somebody that I met through WoW. So there absolutely is a reality now where this is far more balanced than, say, in the late 80s, early 90s, when if you said you were a gamer or you play games, you're probably just going to get thought of as a basement-dwelling nerd. Or if you said you played D&D with friends and stuff like that, or you're into Marvel movies or Marvel comics, now, Endgame is the biggest movie ever. So things have changed, and things do need to adapt with the times very, very clearly. But she has had no positive impact in gaming whatsoever, and that's what I was laughing at. So she blocked me. Coming around to it, as I checked slightly prior to this video, it turns out that I got blocked by him too. And I'm just going to call this guy Captain Soyboy because the cup is right there. It looks like, I know it's an Apex Predator, well, not Apex Predator, excuse me, Acer Predator cup right over there. But clearly this guy fits the bill. I mean, I am not surprised that I'm blocked over here. And it's really funny to me to see that there are people who do that. They don't engage. They're like, well, what's funny? What are you laughing at? What was so funny? And everything like that. They don't have the discourse. The immediate thing is block, 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 block. And I admit I'm from a generation where that couldn't occur because we didn't have the internet and we didn't have social media. And now that it is, I have never done this once. Like, you know who I've blocked on my Facebook? A guy who posted a video of a rat being tied to a cat's tail. And so this was somebody who I'd added to my Facebook for the Marvel Avengers Alliance game and to have him as a friend in game because that's what you had to do. And he posted two kind of shitty anti-animal videos. I forgot what his first one was, but this one stuck with me. It was a video of like a village. I can't tell. I don't remember if it was Middle Eastern or South American, but it was not. It was like a third world country village, and they tie a mouse to a cat's tail as they're holding on to him, and they let the cat go, and he looks behind him, and he goes to turn, and he knows the thing is still tied to his tail. It's like, hey, this thing is tied to me, and he turns frantically a couple times. He can't get rid of it, and he just bolts with the mouse tied to him. So that cat went out in the wild somewhere, probably away from people, with a mouse or a rat tied to his tail. I was like, this is fucking awful. And you posted this thinking this is funny. You are a human piece of shit. You are excrement. Block. That's what I block over. Meanwhile, my Facebook is full of very left people and very right people. People who get on my case when I yell at Trump, and then people who attack those people. I haven't ever blocked one of them. Some people are like, well, why haven't you blocked this person? They clearly have an IQ of 7. Mostly because you have to keep yourself open to both sides of the coin over here, and I digest media and information as it's presented to me. And I would never in a million years block somebody. I mean, especially Zoe. It's kind of ridiculous because I was laughing at him, although it is a slam on her ego. And of course, this guy did it mostly because he probably realized she did it, and you know, he's a dangly soy boy. So on to the larger portion of this, and what I alluded to before, and that is the fact that she has had a past that is ridiculously questionable. And these things are not necessarily to be taken at face value. You have the Signors out there. You have the Hardwicks out there. There are plenty of instances where people have levied these accusations and they wind up not being true. Hell, even Pro Jared, who really, like, that dude was so flushed in his career, there was no coming back from any of that. Well, apparently he's released a 42-minute video countering the two underage people who said, you know, we engaged in nudes and everything like that, and he knew I was underage and all that. I haven't watched his video because I don't want to watch his video, because even that aside, there is a lot of amorality going on there with his life beyond the nudes with underage people. Even that has got now finally his side of it, and those two people who levied the underage claims might not be speaking the truth. But we've seen people come out and be vindicated, especially like Chris Hardwick, and that one, I never really believed that one right from the start. I think a lot of people didn't believe that one from the start. But this guy, this Night in the Woods developer, is fired. It's just Thanos snapped out of a job because somebody said something on Twitter. That is fucking ridiculous. That is not something that should be happening in this day and age. I mean, that's Twitter, and the internet isn't reality. It is a sphere in which people can make up a reality that they want and push it out there. What she has done with this Twitter post is she literally took a dump on a plate and slid it down the table. And she doesn't even need to ever come back to this thread and say another fucking thing. She has just put out the dump on the table in the middle of it with the candles and the Thanksgiving feast. That's where this is right now. There's a big coil of Zoe dump right there on the table. Now there's the people who push it away and go, I want no part of that. I don't believe it. And then there's the people who see the Zoe dump and go, okay, there's a plate of dump over here. I'm ignoring the smell. That's what Twitter is. That's what Facebook is. That's what Tumblr. All of this is not reality. And you can say and you can do anything you want here without any responsibility whatsoever. She literally tossed a nuke over her back shoulder and walked away. And she doesn't ever have to come back to it again and provide proof, or the receipts is the hot word. She just threw it out there, and now it's out there, and now this guy is fired for something that might not be reality. And that, as somebody who calls themselves a realist and kind of, chaotic neutral, I guess you could say, it's disgusting to watch something like that happen. And, when people are like, oh, immediately, like, oh, I'm going to believe it because she said it. There was a guy who levied a claim against her that was not believed. And it was a guy years back who said that he was sexually assaulted by Zoe Quinn at a wedding where she grabbed his junk. And you might think, oh, well, that can't be too bad, blah, blah, blah. First of all, sexual harassment goes both ways. I have definitely seen it. I've experienced it. Not to this level, but I've seen unwanted advances and everything like that, both in my life and others. Women can absolutely be predators just as much as men. Women can put men in these kinds of situations, the cage style, held against their will situations, just as much as men. It really does go both ways. And this thought that she needs to be believed instantly because she's a female and he need to be disbelieved because he was male. Hell, there was a Law and Order Special Victims episode against that where a male stripper said that he was basically raped, and Elliot didn't want to believe it until all the proof came out. And like, yeah, the dude was like held against his will and raped by like 3 girls and everything. So he was discounted, but she is immediately to be believed. She's immediately to be believed when she's grifted money from people for years. She has the association with Anita, who's been grifting people for years. And, there's everything that her ex, everyone said that she did. You shouldn't immediately jump to this. And as a company, firing somebody over a tweet like this is super risky. Because if none of this ever happened the way she said it did, he has a case for wrongful termination. And I hope, if he didn't do these things, that he does the right things and accuse her of libel and slander and take her to court. This is what I believe Zoe needs to do to rectify this situation, give herself some reliability, take some responsibility, increase the veracity of this claim. Do something in real life legally. Police-wise, lawyer-wise, legal system-wise, do something and prove it. And you're probably going to say, well, Napalm, that's not very fair. That's not very woke. Why can't she just say that he did it? Why does she have to go through all these things? What about statute of limitations? What's the proof? How do you prove somebody was refusing to give you money so you could get on a plane and go back home, or, took your phone away, or looked at your text messages to see if you were cheating on them or flirting or stuff like that? Yes, that is extremely tough to prove at this point in time, unless you go to people that knew you back then and involve them in it, and they show the proof and they stand up and say, I witnessed this relationship, this happened. Essentially what happened with Kavanaugh and the claims against him when he was appointed by the blonde lady whose name is I'm forgetting right now. I believed her 100% and all of that. The way she spoke about the incident was very much what I have witnessed in life of people who've told me these things in their lives. It rings 100% true. And I have no reason to not believe that woman when she levied that claim against Kavanaugh. Zoe is a different story. But if she called up that police station in the town where this occurred, where she had all these problems and everything, if she um, showed that she went to visit a lawyer and said, do I have a case against this? Is this within the statute of limitations? Do I have the things that could prove that this actually happened? And she showed that if she came back to this thread and said, you don't believe me? Well, I did this. That's what she needs to do. Not because she's female, not because he's a dude who maybe did a bad thing, but because she's Zoe Quinn with a history of crap. And the fact that somebody could be so blind or be so... I mean, I'm loath to use the word here because I hate the word. I think it is a ridiculously stupid insult. But so fedora ma'am tippy incel-ish that they're just gonna dangle from Zoe Quinn's butthole over here for no particular reason and be like, you are one of the most important people in the game. No, you're fucking not. Not even in the slightest. The people who do the Final Fantasy games, Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, you know, Randy Pitchford, and he's in a world of shit now, but like Randy Pitchford, the Bethesda people, like those people, I mean, oh God, Cliffy B. Cliffy B was one of the most important people in the games industry. He worked on Gears of War. He worked on Unreal Tournament. I mean, sorry to say, but she isn't even on the same planet as anybody who has done anything in the games industry. As a matter of fact, she might have even set it back several years with Gamergate and everything like that. And it's really sad that Gamergate is so off. There is that marriage of the bad side of Gamergate and the good side of Gamergate, and it's really hard to get the two to divorce each other over there. It's like if you're a New Yorker or a Northeasterner of some degree, you know the black and white cookie, and maybe you even know there's a Seinfeld episode on the black and white cookie. But I'm not going to call it black and white because people are like, well, why is the black thing got to be bad? Why is the white thing going to be good? We're just going to say dark and light like Star Wars, like Sith and Jedi. The dark side of Gamergate is really bad, and that's what everybody thinks of when they think of the word Gamergate. But then there is that lighter side that I spoke on that was supposed to be about responsibility in games journalism. Hopefully the way any journalist should be responsible. But what happened is anybody who says they are against the outside of Gamergate, they're pro Gamergate, the way Total Biscuit, when Total Biscuit passed away, there were people, these very heavy SJW types, that were like, good, Total Biscuit is dead. I think Jessica Price was even one of them. Good, like they were happy that Total Biscuit was dead because he aligned himself with the supposed good part of Gamergate. You don't celebrate a man's death of fucking cancer just because he wanted the good part of Gamergate to happen, to have gaming media fix itself. It was proven during Gamergate that you had 3 or 4 gaming-related websites that literally had the same articles on the same games. And that is abhorrent. It is also abhorrent if mainstream media does that too on a particular topic. And I've seen, you know, the videos where that happens and they show station after station after station. They're all saying literally the same thing like they're on the same script. That's just as disgusting, by the way. But this was just as bad. And anybody who tried to align themselves with what GG was doing on the good side, unfortunately got automatically married to the bad side. Yeah, well, you know, it's gonna happen, but this firing over here, this knee jerk, and I mean, you have things like the Duke Lacrosse team, like Signor, like Hardwick, that should tell you, slow down. Don't do this. It may come back in your face, and then you may be more legally responsible for your actions than if you just hold off. I want to see one time an accusation get levied against somebody and a company come out, whether it's male or female, dog, cat, human, whatever, come out and say, we understand that there are allegations made against one of our employees. We take no stance at this time and await a legal case, like something like we await a legal case on this. Because that's what matters in this world. Not a fucking Facebook post, not a Twitter post, not a chat log that has been shown many times over, could be super doctored any which way. Real, verifiable proof through the actual legal system, the law system that we would have had 20 years ago. If you go back to 1999, however you would have levied the claim then, that's what needs to be done. Monica Lewinsky, get out there, show the dress, show the jizz stain, and be like, somebody want to test this? That's him. This is Bill Clinton right here. I'm going to guarantee you, because this is what I wore when I did the thing, and it dribbled, and like, that's what you need to do. Nowadays, if the Clinton thing was happening here in 2019, what you would have is Monica going on Twitter and saying something like, ha, I got presidential jizz on my dress. And then people would call for an impeachment like that. And, okay, where's the dress? Is that a spaghetti stain? Is that a milk stain? Is that a jizz stain? Is that beer? Is that a pina colada? Go get that tested. Go send that to a lab. See if there's DNA on there. Because that's what the law does. That's what a legal case does. Not a stupid post on Twitter saying this thing happened and then a job knee-jerks and fire somebody. That is 100% ridiculous. And again, I'm not passing judgment on what she said and what she claims happened. I've known enough in life to have heard similar stories, and it is believable. It's a sad thing that I can tell you that I've known and dated so many girls in my life that have had similar stories like this in their background. I spent the later part of the 90s and early 2000s really just sad for these types of cases. Just upset, like kind of angry that men are such assholes at this kind of thing. And why does this keep happening? And how are there so many people out there just being bad and abusive to people that they're supposed to love and care about? And now, and that was world altering. That was eye opening, especially hearing those stories in college and everything like that. And hearing stories about like the basketball team on campus running a train on somebody, and you're like, oh my God, like I said, did that really happen? Holy shit, that's awful. And now it's sort of the other, not the other way, not that I think the other way, but now you're seeing the other side of the world that opens up to you. Like, no, there are times when people do this and they lie and it's completely fake and it's not a thing. And you may say, well, Napalm, wait a minute. What about the responsibility, the gravitas, the weight of her coming out and saying this? Do you really think she would say something like this if, in fact, it didn't happen? Well, yeah, certainly. If you're that fucked up in the head that you don't take the responsibility for what you've done, this will roll off of her like water off a duck's ass. If you go back and you read the core of what Aaron said she was like when they were dating, this is a person who doesn't have that morality in them. This is a person who doesn't take those responsibilities. She didn't take the responsibility of cheating on Aaron and the things that she did back then. That's that amoral that I was talking about. On this one over here, if you believe like, well, why would she do that? This is serious stuff, and he's now fired. That's on her conscience, if she has one. And that's proven to be a little bit suspect if you look at everything in her maelstrom over here. And yeah, this may absolutely 100% be fake. It may be 100% real. It may be somewhere in the middle that is a shade of gray. No pun intended there, but it's the weight of the termination, the loss of a job that really gets me in this. If this was just out there in Twitter and there were no other repercussions on this guy's life other than people being like, "Did you do this? Like, you're a piece of shit." Other than that, if that was the only case, like, then it'd be a little bit different. But now a guy has lost a job, may never get a job again in the industry because of this tweet that is not verified and is not backed up by reality, by a legal case, by talking to police, by talking to lawyers, by doing what you would do in the Stone Age. Like, if you carved out on the wheel, "Unga hurt me," and you rolled it out of the cave into the Justice Cave of America over there, and you looked at it and said, "Unga hurt me. Oh, we have a trouble here." And an investigation was opened up. It was like, "Well, what is Unga doing? Do you have proof? Look at drawing. Look at drawing of odd cave. Unga hurt me." Um, if that isn't the reality of this, then nothing should be happening to this developer. And there are some people like the Quartering are like, "Oh my god, like, this is what I can't stand about indie devs. We need, like, this is why I need AAA devs a little bit more." Let me tell you, like, this happens with AAA devs too. The CEO of Gazillion had sexual allegations. You had Riot Games, which was a toxic cesspool over there. Um, you have the things like Randy Pitchford maybe having some porn on a flash drive and everything. Believe me, the answer is not AAA versus indie gaming. It may be gaming in general, or games development in general, the whole umbrella, similar to, Hollywood and all the things that are going on over there. Or just, this is the darker side of society that nobody talks about, but it's being exposed in Hollywood, and it's being exposed in politics, and it's being exposed in gaming. So maybe it's not just those places where this is happening. Maybe this is just the shitty background of life, but this is where it's bubbling up and seeping through a few cracks. Um, but this has to be something that accountability has to be had for it. And yeah, my answer is she absolutely could say something like this and not have actually had it happen, or it could be a retelling or a reconstruction of something in the past that didn't really go down this way, or, she tells it this way that it happened, like, "Oh, he didn't pay for my trip back. I said I wanted to go back." The reality might be, "Hey, I wasn't working then. I was broke. If I paid $300 for her to get on a plane to go back where she came from, I wasn't making rent that month. I wasn't putting myself out under a damn bridge, panhandling, and trying to drink drippings from the ceiling." I hope you get that song reference. If you do, please let me know. Living off of grass and drippings from the ceiling. That might be the reality, but if she twists it that way and everybody believes it, like, "Oh, dev person bad," and he's like, "Yeah, I couldn't pay for a ticket back. I admit it. I would have been out of doors. I wouldn't have paid the power. I wouldn't have paid water or internet that she relied on so much, or I relied on to fucking develop games." So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think. If you understand my rational thinking in this, and the hilarity of Soy Boy Latte over there, and the fact that Zoe Quinn has fucking blocked me from her Twitter. Notice me, senpai. Let me know what you guys think. Share the video around, even if you're sharing it to people that believe her or don't believe her, anything like that. That's none of my concern, because again, I'm not saying I believe her. I'm not saying I don't believe her. I don't know anything about him. I don't know if any charges like this have ever been levied against them in the past, like kind of what happened with Clinton, kind of like what's going on with Trump and everything like that. I don't really know. I know her history, and it's bad enough and spotty enough and Swiss cheesy enough to believe that I'm not just going to jump on the bandwagon and be like, "Yay, Zoe good, this guy, dev guy, bad." Like, do your own thinking of this. Research her. research the allegations that were levied against her by the guy that groped at the wedding, look at her like Kickstarter or Patreon history for the game that didn't come out, and all the posts about how we're out of money and no updates and all the Chuck Tingle shit and everything like that. Don't be woke, don't be anti-woke, but be woke in the sense of, I know how to use the internet, I'm going to do my own stuff, and I'm going to form my own opinion. Then come back and talk to me about it. You don't like my opinion? Tell me about it. You agree with it? You don't agree with it? Fine. You have the proof of bad things or the good things? Absolutely. Comment below. Talk about the video. Share the video. Like it. Do whatever you want to do. But I'm really interested to hear what you guys think about it and what your reaction to this video is. So take care, everybody. Hope to see you guys again in the future. Peace out.